So one of the things that kind of starts to fuel the cycle initially is the natural urge to suppress the thoughts when they come in, like to try and push them away, real resistance, which I'm sure we will have all done at one point. And as we all know, this is a given, suppressing doesn't work. It just simply means that they come bouncing back. And when our OCD is really, really intense, we might read about the whole idea of labeling it as, oh, that's an OCD thought, that's an OCD thought, which in one case may help to stop us maybe from engaging too much deliberately. It could stop us in our tracks or something, if we label it. Do the whole, reattributing thing that's discussed in Brain Lock, for example. Intrusive thought, or meaningless thought, or oh, that's a thought. The problem is here though is that in my experience, when I was like going through particularly bad periods of being stuck on the repetitive thoughts, it did help me to think intrusive thought, okay, and just leave it there essentially, but labeling it was okay. It stopped me engaging as much, and it did help a little bit with the ruminating, but it only helped to a certain extent, because on the really bad days, what am I supposed to do? Sit there at work and go, OCD thought, OCD thought. Okay, I'm typing on my keyboard, OCD thought. There's another OCD thought, OCD thought, OCD. Because also, when you're absolutely petrified of these thoughts when they're coming in, some of the rumination that continues is automatic. And to be honest, it gets to the point where you don't even know if it's an intrusive thought or if you're engaging in a mental compulsion, if you're doing rumination. But because you're so petrified, you can't stop it. Even if you're not getting involved with it, you might have got to a point where you don't necessarily want to jump on the thought and continue down that path. Your mind is still doing that, whether you want it to or not. And it can be confusing then at that point, is this all, is this obsession or compulsion? And then it's kind of, you could get stuck on trying to work out whether it's an obsession or compulsion. I found here that where I couldn't control at that point in my recovery, the mental compulsion, like the rumination and the constant background noise, it was best not to try and control it and just to leave it going there. But that was when the labeling it fell short for me, as it's a technique, isn't it? So it's still, I suppose, a form in some, some may argue it's a form of resistance, or it's saying this is definitely something. It's not the uncertainty part there, or perhaps it's saying, I'm regarding this as an OCD thought and continuing with what I want to do. I suppose that there you're saying, I'm choosing to regard it as that and live my life as if it's that. Even though I don't know for certain. But you can't respond to every thought like that. Because firstly, as I said, on the really bad days, the thoughts come in like bang, 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 bang. And also it's just giving them more attention. And it's shining light on them where they don't, they really don't deserve having lights shone on them. So this is where kind of you start to look at the acceptance part, and this is what can help us once we've started working on accepting the possibility of our theme being true. We've argued that it's not as awful as we think it would be, even though it wouldn't be ideal, and we've worked on viewing things more rationally and changing our beliefs. It becomes easier to not respond to the thoughts at all, just to leave it there. And it becomes easier to give it less attention. But what we might find, I certainly did, when working on acceptance, is when the thoughts come in, you're saying to yourself, I accept this thought, I accept this may be true, this is true. You start jumping on the thought again and saying, from an acceptance perspective, you're saying it is true, or I accept it could be true. And The problem is here, once again, you're shining a light on the thought. In the moment, you're giving it attention, you're stopping what you're doing. That takes mental energy to do that in that moment. So again, this isn't necessarily ideal either. And if you're jumping on it saying it's true, then you're not, you know, there's not the uncertainty piece there, which, you know, comes into it. We're not trying to say if it's true or false. We're trying to just, you know, let it be there and continue our life as if it's, you know, it's nothing. So this is where the, you know, the forcing of acceptance comes in, and you don't want to be responding to your thoughts with forced acceptance. You know, that's still trying to relieve discomfort in the moment, and that's still trying to push them away.